Good evening and welcome to the Inspired Torah, character and midos development on the Parsha of the week every Wednesday night, sponsored by Neshei Good of Baltimore. Tonight, Parshas Shmos, January 6th, 2021. I have in front of me, as you can see, a non-burning bush. It would be a burning bush, but imagine it's a burning bush. And open up Shmos, chapter 3, Pasuk 1, verse 1. Let's read together this amazing experience of the meaning of the sneh, boyer ba'ish, the burning bush, and how it applies to us, how we can grow in our character and midos because of the inyan, how the burning bush is speaking to us. Chapter 3, Pasuk 1, chapter 3, verse 1 in Shmos says the following. Moshe was the shepherd for the sheep of Yisro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the sheep into the desert. Perhaps we didn't notice that in previous understandings of the sneh, but it was on Har Sinai. It was Har HaElokim Choreva. He took the sheep and he was grazing with the sheep on Har Sinai. That's where he had the encounter with the burning bush, on Har Sinai. Vayera malach Hashem elav belabas eish mitoch hasneh. And from the burning bush, this burning bush, ki'ilu, from this burning bush, it was burning. Imagine a flame engulfing this burning bush. And a voice of the angel called out from the bush to Moshe Rabbeinu. Let's say Moshe Rabbeinu was over here, where I am. And the voice, the burning bush is here, and it's calling out to me. Here's Moshe, and it calls out to me. Vayar, and Moshe looked, very curious. This is amazing. The burning bush is burning. But the leaves, the branches are not being consumed. Meaning the branches are as fresh as they were before the fire started on the burning bush. This seems to be like a major contradiction, a stira. How can a burning bush not be consumed? That is the kedusha of Hashem. Hashem is the solver of all contradictions. How can it be this way or that way? And yet Hashem can solve the contradictions. It's said that when two ships embark on a port, one is going east and one is going west, they're both davening for wind. One's davening for an east wind. One's davening for a west wind. One's going this way, one's going this way. It's a contradiction. How can you have an east wind and a west wind coming from the same port? But they're both davening to Hashem. I'm going east, you're going west. And all the sailors are pointing and praying for a wind to take them to their destination. Hashem is the solver of all contradictions. He can cause an east wind and a west wind to occur at the same time and not cause a tornado, not cause a hurricane. Hashem is Kol Yachol. He is the solver of all contradictions. That was the burning bush. The burning bush was the contradiction par excellence. That Moshe said, what? How can there be this contradiction? He looked toward this bush and was astounded, amazed. Vayomer Moshe, Asurana, let me turn toward this bush. Asurana, let me turn toward. Ve'ere, and let me look. Es hamare hagadol hazeh, this amazing vision, this amazing occurrence, this amazing experience. Madua lo yivon hasneh. Why isn't the sneh, why isn't the burning bush being consumed? This is incredible. It's a miracle. Ve'ira Hashem ki sar liros, and Hashem saw that he turned. Hashem saw that he turned toward the bush. Hashem appreciated Kiviyachol. He noticed that Moshe Rabbeinu noticed the contradiction, noticed the amazing power of Hashem. He turned toward Hashem. He turned toward the contradiction. He turned toward the solver of all contradictions. And then Hashem said to him, since you learned and you turned toward me, since you looked toward me and you were attracted to my solving of contradictions, Vayikra Elav Elokim, God called to him mitoch hashneh, from the midst of the bush. He called out to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe's here, and the bush, the malach, and Hashem's voice through the malach came to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, Moshe, Moshe, V'yomer hineni, I am here. V'yomer al tikrav haloim. So the voice in the bush said the following: Al tikrav haloim, stay where you are. Here's the bush, here's the contradiction, here's the solving of contradictions, the burning bush. Calling out Moshe is about Dalet Amos, 6 amos away, turns toward it, and the voice calls out to Moshe and says, don't come any closer. Al tikrav halom, do not come here. Stay where you are. Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha. Remove your shoes from your feet. Take off your shoes. Ki hamakom asher ata oimed alav admas kodeshu. Because the ground upon which you stand is holy ground. The voice is saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, you're not allowed to come any closer because the place upon which you stand is holy ground. Now, there's a problem with this verse. There is a problem with this pasuk. Let's understand what this verse is saying. The verse is saying, Moshe, this place, this burning bush over here, this place of Kedusha, why is it Kedusha? Why is it holy? Because it's the place where God is causing a miracle to happen, where a burning bush is not being consumed, which means I, God, am the solver of contradictions. This place, this condition, this concept, this idea in the world of solving contradictions is too holy. Too holy. Kadosh means beyond you. Kedusha means elevated. It's too elevated for you. It's too incomprehensible. It's beyond understanding. It's kadosh. It's holy. It's uplifted, elevated, separated, distant from you. So Moshe, stay where you are. Don't come any closer. And then the verse says, take off your shoes. Because the place upon which you stand is holy ground. What's wrong with that sentence? What is wrong with that command by Hashem? There is a problem with the content of that verse. Do you see the problem? It says, I am holy. This place is the place of contradiction and the solving of contradictions. So you have to stay away. Stay at an irreverent, amazed, awe-inspired distance from this place. Don't come too close because you can't fathom what's going on over here. Take off your shoes because the place upon which you stand is holy ground. What should it say? It shouldn't say the place upon which you stand is holy ground. What should it say? It should say, because the place upon which I am is holy. This is holy ground. You stay over there. Because the place upon which I am in this bush is too holy for you. Because the place upon which I stand is holy ground. Don't come any closer. But that's not what it says. It says, don't come any closer because the place upon which you stand is holy ground. What does this mean? What is the Torah telling us about approaching God? What is the Torah telling us about our turning toward Hashem? Asura, let me look, turn toward Hashem and see the amazing awe-inspiring source of the universe. If I turn toward the source of the universe and God says to me, don't come any closer because the place upon which you stand is holy ground, what is he saying to me? Hashem is saying, the Sefer HaChasidim says the following: you don't have to come any closer because the place upon which you stand, Moshe, where you are, Moshe, is already holy ground. You don't have to come any closer. Just look in my direction. And that's what you did. And that's why I'm talking to you. Moshe looked. He was astounded. He looked and saw the universe. He saw the hand of Hashem in the universe. He saw the miracle and turned toward Hashem and said, this is the source of life. This is the source. This is the Makoyer HaBracha. I am turning toward, I said, wow, I am leaning toward, inclining myself toward, wanting to get close to this amazing experience called Hashem, the source of all life, the soul of all souls. And I want to get closer. Hashem says, don't have to come any closer. You know why, Moshe? Because just by looking in my direction, you're already holy. By wanting to strive toward holiness, strive toward personal growth, strive toward the values in this Torah, which is personal growth. The Torah is synonymous with Avodas Hashem, which means personal growth. That's why I'm very, very I'm stressing greatly the idea of a personal growth chabura, of midos and character development, because that's the whole Torah. Zeh kol Torah kula. It's a direction from Hashem. It's a hora'ah, teaching of Hashem of how to grow. It's not stam a shir. It's not stam a Torah shir. The only way in which we can connect to the Torah is what is Hashem telling us of how we can be like him. The purpose of Torah, the purpose of this burning bush is to say, this is amazing. This Torah, this document, this blueprint of life, these examples of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Yosef HaTzadik, Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, all of the messages of the Torah are there for us to learn from, to grow from, to be like them. So look in my direction. Look toward moral growth, character growth, midos development. And you don't have to come any closer, says the Torah, because you're already on holy ground. The place upon which you stand is holy ground. You don't have to come any closer. Just look in my direction. How do we do that? How do we cause ourselves to look in Hashem's direction? In the midst of COVID, in the midst of challenges, in the midst of financial challenges, and all of the issues that Hashem presents us with, and we're standing here, we're looking toward Hashem, we're yearning toward Hashem as, please help us. I want to be like you. I want to strive toward the midos of the Torah. How can I achieve that amazement, that feeling of amazement, that awe of Hashem, that closeness to Hashem, that personal growth to cause my midos? And the Vilna Gaon tells us. The Vilna Gaon tells us in his Perush on Mishlei that the purpose of life is shviras hamidos, to rectify our character. That's the purpose of life, says the Vilna Gaon. How do we do that? When we open up chapter 1 of Shmos, the new parsha, let's read what it says. Chapter 1, verse 1. Ve'ela Shmos b'nei Yisrael habayim Mitzrayma es Yaakov ish uvesova. These are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt with Yaakov. Every man came with his household. Says my Rebbe, Rav Moshe Shapira Zatzal, he says the following. The first verse of Shmos is a mirror of the first verse of Breshis. The first verse of Breshis was Breshis bar Elokim. Es HaShamayim es Aretz, there was Shamayim, there was destiny. And there was Aretz turning toward that destiny. There was darkness, earthiness, physicality, materialism. And there is Shamayim, destiny, spirituality. That is mirrored in the first verse of Shmos. These are the names. This is the destiny. Shemos, Sham, Shamayim, Eila Shmos. These are the destinies of the Jewish people. This is the redemption of the Jewish people. This is Shamayim, Eila Shmos B'nai Yisrael. This is the Shamayim of B'nai Yisrael, the destiny of B'nai Yisrael, the Shvatim Habaim Mitzrayim, who come into the earthiness of the world, who come to the darkness of Mitzrayim. Shamayim is Eila Shmos. Aretz is Habayim Mitzrayim. So this second Sefer of the Torah, the first Sefer is called Sefer Breshis, Sefer Ha'avos, the fathers. This is called Sefer Habanim, says the Ramban. This is the book of the sons, the Shvatim, the branches which come out of the fathers. And we are doing exactly the same thing as happened in the Bria Sa'olam and the creation of the world. We are reenacting the creation of the world by going down into Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim is darkness. Mitzrayim is so vavohu, v'choshech al pnei sahom. And Yetzias Mitzrayim is Yihi Or, let there be light. The Medrash says, the Medrash in Shmos Rabbah, Perak Aleph, Piska 5, says, the names of the tribes contain within them the seeds of redemption. Inside the pain of Mitzrayim, going down into Egypt was the redemption going down into Egypt. Where is the redemption while going into Egypt? The names, Eila Shmos, the destiny of the Jewish people. The destiny, the Shamayim, the Shemos, the names of the Jewish people. The names of the 12 tribes contain within them the seeds of redemption from the very Mitzrayim we're going into. How so? Reuven stands for the words Reu, see the suffering of the Jewish people. Shimon stands for Hashem heard, Shama, Shama, Shmuel, Shimon. Hashem heard their cries. Levi means Levaya. Hashem is escorting Levi and joining in our suffering, indicated by the burning bush. The burning bush, explained by the Meforshim, is showing that Hashem, just as I am with you in this tzara, just as I am with you in this pain of Mitzrayim, Hashem said to Moshe, so too I will be you in all burnings of Klal Yisrael, all burning exiles of Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu answered Hashem, is it enough we have one burning right now in Mitzrayim? We have to talk about the other ones? Let's not refer to the other ones. They'll come. It's enough to refer to and take us out of this burning bush, Mitzrayim. And we will not be consumed. We will go down to Mitzrayim and we will not be consumed because the seeds of redemption are inside each and every one of us to come out of our own Mitzrayim. Rav Tzadok HaKohen explains the meaning of this medrash and says that exile, Yetzias exile, Golus, is not given to us for its own sake. Going to Mitzrayim is not given to us for its own sake. Babel, Parasumadai, Persia and Media, Yavan, Greece, and this exile, Rome, Edom, the nations of the Western civilizations who have placed us in exile, away from Eretz Yisrael, away from the Beis Hamikdash. The purpose of the exile is not for the exile. The purpose of the exile is to come out of the exile. The Jewish people would not have been able to achieve their destiny had they not gone into exile. Hashem prophesied in the Bris Ben Absarim that the Jewish people would go into Mitzrayim. They did nothing wrong, but they had to go into the crucible of Mitzrayim to learn what suffering is, so to learn how to become compassionate people. Baishanim, Rachmanim, Goimlei Chasadim. In the crucible of Mitzrayim, in that smelting pot of suffering of Mitzrayim, for 210 years, we learned to not do that to anybody else. We learned to be formed as a Baishanim, Rachmanim, the Gomlei Chasadim. As such, the purpose of going down to the exile is to come out of the exile and to teach the world how to be Baishanim, Rachmanim, the Gomlei Chasadim. That going down to Mitzrayim is a precursor to Yetzias Mitzrayim. And Hashem therefore says, Rav Tzadok HaKohen, brought them into Mitzrayim out of his great love for them, so they could achieve tachlis, ultimate destiny. And therefore, the redemption begins with the exile itself. Going down, Eila Shmos Bnei Yisrael Habayim Mitzrayim. These are the names of the tribes going down, coming into Mitzrayim, because within our traveling down to Mitzrayim, we carry within ourselves the power of redemption. If we look at Bereshis, chapter 15, verse 12, in the Bris Ben Epsarim, in the covenant of the parts, where Hashem promised Avram Avinu that he would be an Av Haman Goyim, he would be a leader of nations, the father of the Jewish people. It says, Vayhi Hashem esh lavo, v'tardema nafla al Avram, v'hinei ema chashecha gedoyla nofelash alav. And it came to pass that when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Avram, and a dread, even a great darkness, fell upon him. Bereshis chapter 15, verse 12. Says Rashi, what is this great darkness? It's a reference to the suffering and darkness of future exiles. Light is called redemption. As the Navi says, then shall your light break forth as the morning. Yibaka kishachar orech. In Yeshaya chapter 58, pasuk 8, it says, Yibaka kishachar orech. Breaking forth from the darkness comes the light. The darkness means exile and suffering. The light means redemption. The purpose of darkness is confusion, is to confound us, for the sole purpose of forcing us to work on ourselves, to introspect, to reflect on ourselves, to see how I can work out the darkness within myself. How can I seek to discover and bring out the light? That's what every test Hashem sends to us is a gift from Hashem, forcing us to grow. The purpose of life is not happiness. The purpose of life is growth. And therefore, whatever Hashem sends us, we have to cause ourselves to introspect, to self-reflect, think, why is this happening to me? What does Hashem want me to do to work up on myself, to work out this problem, this darkness, this confounding, this confusion within myself? And then find the light within myself, find the growth, the redemption from the exile. Every darkness is an exile, every challenge is an exile, because I become disconnected from myself. And Hashem forces us through the exile, through the challenge that he sends us, not a punishment, but a challenge, to introspect and to bring out the light from within ourselves and say, I can grow, I can bring out God's light through my bechira, my free will. We have to create our own dawn from the midst of the darkness. And the word boker, morning, is the root of the word bikur, investigation, clarification. Bikur, investigation, is the same word as boker. In the midst of the darkness, we have to do our own self-investigation, self-analysis, self-introspection. A cheshbon nefesh, a self-analysis, and say, what is Hashem teaching me here? How is he testing me here? How can I bring out more light for myself? He's not being mean. He's not being mad at me. He wants me to grow. The purpose of life is to grow. And each shevet, each tribe, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun, every tribe knew they had a light to bring out, and they were sent down to Mitzrayim to clarify within themselves, to introspect, to investigate within themselves. How can I bring out the light so when I come out of exile and come to redemption, come to Eretz Yisrael, I will shine that light on the world. And that is why their names are mentioned at the very beginning of the parsha. Ve'ela shmos b'nei Yisrael. These are the names of redemption. These are the names of shamayim. Shamos is the same word as sham, there. And the plural of the word sham is shamayim, there, the there of all the theirs. And shemos, the name, shin mem, are the two middle letters of the word neshama. Shin mem, shem, are the two middle letters of your neshama. Your name is a glimpse into your neshama. Re'u vein, I see their suffering. Shimon, I hear their suffering. Levi, I'm going to guide them through their suffering. The word Sarah is you are a princess. Rivka, you are a balas chesed. Look up your pasuk. Everyone has to look up on page 924 of the Art School Siddur. There is a pasuk which begins with the first letter of your Hebrew name and ends with the last letter of your Hebrew name. And that is a glimpse into what your destiny is, what your name means. There's a pasuk, Sarah. For the word Sarah, my mother's name, Allah Shalom, was Sarah. And in page 924 of the Art Scroll Siddur, there's a list of the regular Art Scroll Siddur. There's a list of names, of psukim, verses, which begins with a samach, a sin, and ends with a hey. What is Sarah? Sarah is Se'u Yedechem Kodesh Uvarchu Es Hashem. It begins with a sin, ends with a hey, Shem Hashem Hashem. Raise your hands in holiness and praise Hashem. So a person's name is Sarah. Your spiritual neshama is coming from a place of raising up your hands. Do with your hands, do goodness with your hands, and that is the praise of Hashem. If your name is Tehillah, so there's a taf and a hey. Begins with a taf and ends with a hey. Tarach lefanai shulchan neged tzorirai. Ishanta v'Hashem roshi kosi revaya. Place before me a table against my enemies. Anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Your destiny at Tehillah would be to give a praise to Hashem despite suffering, to sing a praise to Hashem, to have emunah. That is a glimpse into your neshama. Chaya. Chaya's name, Ches Hey. Or Chavi, Chava. Mrs. Berenbaum. Chagra be'oz masnea v'tametz zoro oseha. Begins with a Ches, ends with a Hey. The Mishle. Gird yourself with strength and strengthen your hands. Your destiny, Mrs. Berenbaum, is to gird yourself with strength and to strengthen your hands and strengthen the hands of others by doing things. Hands-on person. Staying up at 2 o'clock in the morning to work for the cloud. And I'm sure it's not the first time. Look at your psukim. Learn where it's from. Study the Perushim. And you'll get a glimpse as to what your neshama is here for. The physical slavery in Egypt was enslavement of our tsura. Our tsura is our destiny. The word tsura is essence, destiny. It comes from the word sur olamim, sur tamim palo, which means tsayar. God is the tsayar. He is the artist, the artisan. He is the artist who fashioned the world. He is the rock. He's the source, sur, the destiny. Each of us has a tsura, a destiny, and each of us has a chomer, a body which contains the tsura. The Maral explains in Or Chadash, on Megillas Esther, chapter 5, 13. He says, the nature of physicality, the nature of chomer, is that it is prone to a sense of lacking. And as such, chomer is referred to chomer ulevenim, bricks and mortar. Chomer refers to chomer and levenim, the bricks and mortar that were enslaving, the Jewish people were enslaved to build bricks, build with bricks and mortar. And chomer comes from the word chamor, donkey. This represents the beast of burden, physicality. So chomer, from physicality, materialism, chamor, a donkey, a beast of burden. Surah from yatzar, creator. Sur, the rock. Surah, essence and destiny. The Maral says, the surah, purpose of something, is meant to rule over your chomer. The tsura, the destiny of a person, the spirituality, is meant to rule over your physicality. It is meant that tsura is meant to guide and to lead my physicality. And the physicality should be subordinate to the purpose and destiny. A person, says the Maral, who's drawn after his evil inclination, his negative side, his physical side, his lusts and his passions, is entrapped in his own chomer. I'm entrapped in my own physicality, my own material desires. Whereas a person who is guided by his Yetzer HaTov, his good inclination, is a master of his own tsura, his destiny. When you are leading with your Yetzer HaTov, it guides and vanquishes, directs the Yetzer Hara. Chomer, says the Maral, materialism is bound by inertia. It wants to stay in its physical state. Inertia, when a ball is placed on the table, it doesn't move unless a force pushes it. Chomer wants to give in to its own physicality. It wants to be directionless. It wants to stay here. I want to stay here. I want to stand still. That's what Lashon Hara is. I don't want to grow. Look at them. They're no good. Oh, I want to talk about them. Me, I want to stand still. That's what's wrong with Lashon Hara. It's the total antithesis of growth, of tsura. It's using our voice to put someone else down and to say, I don't want to grow. I don't have to grow. I can stay still. I want to remain directionless. I want to remain inertia. I want to stay still. I don't want to grow. Says the Maral, it's like a piece of dough that has the potential to be shaped into many forms, but it stays static. It stays a glump of dough. The tsura, the destiny, the essence of man, wants to lead his physicality into a framework of boundaries and systems to give man direction to the operation of his seichel, his intellect. Adam HaRishon was given this task. In Breshis chapter 1, verse 26, you want to take a look at chapter 1, verse 26 of Breshis. The Torah says, V'yomer Elokim na'aseh Adam b'tzalmenu kidmosenu, let us make man in our image after our likeness. V'yirdu bidgas hayam, let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, the cattle, over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. Let him have his tsura, the tsura of Adam, man, the true man, the spirituality of man. Let it rule over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, the cattle, and over the earth. Rashi says, Vayirdu shall rule over the fish of the sea, Rashi says. Ruling also means to decline. If man is worthy, he rules over the beasts. If he is not worthy, he becomes inferior to them, and the beast in me rules over me. So this is a slippery slope, a very precarious opportunity. When we are here looking at the burning bush, we have to realize we have within ourselves a tsura, a destiny to walk towards spirituality, but we also have na'alayim, shal na'alecha. We have shoes. We can be drawn after Gucci shoes, Ferragamo belts, materialism, money, houses. That's why, says one of my rebbeim, Rav Uziel Malevsky Zatzal, he says, by the inyan of chalitza, when you take off the shoe, the shoe represents the body, and the foot represents the soul. When the brother-in-law does not want to marry his sister-in-law and doesn't want to bring a new soul into the world in the name of his brother, his late brother, so we take off the shoe. You're not providing the physicality, the shoe, the physicality, to house the foot, the soul of your brother who's going to come into the world through this union of Yibum. The foot, the shoe, represents physicality, the housing, the body, and the foot represents the soul which goes into the housing. Within us, we have a housing, a body, and we become distracted by that chomer. We become distracted. And when Avraham Avinu was walking toward the Akedah, take a look at these words. Have to look at these words at the Akedah. Unbelievable words of the Akedah, which really brings everything home to us of the battle between Chomer and Surah, physicality and destiny. Look at Breshis chapter 22 and the Akedah. Chapter 22. Verse 5. They're walking toward the Akedah. Who was walking there? Avram, Yitzchak, Eliezer, and Yishmael. 4 of them walking toward the Akedah. And they came to a place, they saw it from about 2 or 3 miles away, and they saw the place. And Avraham Avinu asked Yitzchak if he saw the place, and he said, yes, I see the Kedusha. He asked Yishmael and Eliezer, do you see the Kedusha? They said, no, I don't see anything. So they said, look at verse 5. Vayomer Avram el Ne'arav. Avram said to his lads, Eliezer and Yishmael, Shvu lachem po imachamor. Stay here, stay static with the chomrius, with the materialism. Vani vanar nialcha ad ko. We'll go to there, ko. We'll bow and we'll return to you. Unbelievable understanding of the contrast between po here and ko there. You stay here. You stay static. You don't understand the spirituality of there, of the Akedah, of Harabais, of Kedusha, of the burning bush. You don't understand that. You are Chomer. Yishmael and Eliezer were Chomer. That's why Avram did not allow Eliezer's daughter, to marry Yitzchak. You stay here, Po. We will go Ko, there, to destiny. It says the Maral, the word Ko, Chaf He, is the root of Kohen. A Kohen takes us there, toward destiny. He connects us to the higher place. Connects us to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. He brings the korbanos. And the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, and the Holy of Holies brings us to the connection with the Kodesh Baruch Hu as a nation to Kodesh Baruch Hu on Yom Kippur. You stay here. Stay static. Stay still, Po. We're going to go Ko. That was what Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, standing over here saying, have your physicality stay here, but look toward the destiny. Let your body and soul work together toward that destiny. Look toward destiny. If you give in to your na'alayim, if you give in to your shoes, your physicality, the housing, if you think that's important, if you're going to live your life for physicality, then you're not going to be able to work toward surah, toward the burning bush, toward the unfathomable connection with Hashem. When man lives, says the Maral, a life of surah shlema, complete destiny, meaning, wholeness. When man lives in the world of destiny, he rules over his chomer. He uses his chamor, his chomer, to achieve that destiny. And he rules over the 4 levels of life. Inanimate objects, which are domim, rocks and soil. Plant life, someach, chai, animal, and man is called the medaber, the one who speaks. But 10 years ago, I led a summer program called the Summer Seminary Experience, where I brought high school girls together with my wife to Eretz Yisrael for the summer, 5 weeks in Eretz Yisrael, and we toured. We learned in the mornings with Rabbi Hadar Margolin, with Rabbi Jonathan Taub, with Rabbi Shimon Kurland, organized by Darchei Bina Seminary. I worked together with Rabbi Kurland. and with Rabbi Yeshua Hartman, and they gave shiur in the morning, and then in the afternoon we had trips all around Yerushalayim, and then once a week we traveled to the north, the Golan, or to the Negev, or to the Galil, to the south. A day-long trip, got up at 5 in the morning. And one trip we took was a trip to the Jordan River, and we got in kayaks, and it was just a dream come true for me. The Jordan River, the Yarden, over which the Jewish people crossed over into the Yarden, into Eretz Yisrael. We were in the Jordan River. We were in a boat in the Jordan River, kayaks, the Jordan River. And all the girls were sent forward. They went on this trip. And I was on a kayak myself in the back, me'asef, trying to make sure there's no stragglers. And then I saw these four things. On the bank of the river, I saw rocks and soil, inanimate objects. Then I saw coming into the water were plants, trees were leaning into the water. And then I saw an amazing thing, a huge cow. And every year we went there, the same cow was there. The biggest cow I've ever seen in my life. It was like 15 feet long and 5 feet wide, huge. It was like shocking. I was on one side of this Jordan River, narrow Jordan River, about 20 feet wide. It was grazing and slurping water at the edge of the water. I was like, whoa. I saw a lot animal life. And into my canoe, there was a blue and brown dragonfly. And I had to get out of the way, this dragonfly. So I saw animal life. I saw rocks and soil, domain, inanimate objects. I saw tzomeach, plants, trees. I saw a cow and a dragonfly, animals. And then I was the medaber. Man is known as the medaber, the one who speaks. I said, I'm seeing the whole world here. The whole world. Inanimate, plant life, animal life. And I'm the medaber. And I started to sing Hallel. I started to sing Hallel. It was such an incredible spiritual experience for me to understand that this is the whole picture of life. Wherever you go, you see asphalt and tree and ground, rocks, domain. You see plants, trees and grass. You see animals. We see deer running around in our community, and foxes, and squirrels, and birds. And then we are the ones who are called upon to respond. We see the physicality of the world, and our surah answers and says, this is all from Hashem. This is Hallel. This is Tefillah. This is connecting to the burning bush. We see all of this physicality. We see all the chomer, and we say, I'm the tzura. I have to use this to praise Hashem and say, this is all belongs to you, Hashem. This is the tzura. Our tzura is expressed through our tselem Elokim. The Nefesh HaChaim tells us that what is a tselem Elokim? What is the image of God in you? It's your bechira. The expression of your image of God within you, the tselem Elokim, the godly image within you, is your free will. You express your tselem Elokim by using your free will to serve Hashem, to grow as a person, to become a better person, a better wife, a better husband, a better daughter, a better friend, a better sister, a better Eved Hashem. A person who appreciates more, who's more sensitive, who's more caring, who's more giving, is more humble to praise Hashem. When we use our free will in service of Hashem, and we dominate our physicality, our chomer, and we let our purposeful self, our tzura, our purpose, guide us, then we can be on the journey toward the burning bush. That's how we can make the burning bush ours. We have to apply the Torah to ourselves. It's speaking to us. The burning bush is speaking to us. It's saying to us, we are all in the person, kiviyachol, of Moshe Rabbeinu. We are all a ray of the light coming from his face. The ray of light coming from Moshe Rabbeinu's face, from Har Sinai, from the encounter with Hashem, we are all one prism, one ray of light, of the light that came from his face. Each of us has a ray of light coming from Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah. We are all a ray of light coming from his light. Keren or Panav. the light coming from his face, we are that light. Each of us has that light, that surah. Each of us has a particular unique destiny to contribute to our coming as a nation and as a family and each individual toward that burning bush. Let's listen. Let's look. Let's hear. Let's turn toward Asura. Let's turn toward the burning bush. Let's turn toward the contradiction and the solver of all contradictions. Put our faith and our trust in Hashem and say, I'm going to dedicate my physical, my chomer, and I want to go I want to go there. I want to be among those who turn toward, like Moshe Rabbeinu, turn toward the Kedusha and be a growing person and being a surah person and being a destiny person. And that way we can make the burning bush ours and grow in our amazement and awe of Hashem.